brief summary of my life into acting in 2 minutes. So I was in and out of trouble in institutions and group homes, and so finally I was allowed to do wrestling because I was allowed to be in a regular school for 2 periods out of the day. Other than that, I was in a school for troubled youth. But because I was wrestling, because I was in a regular school for a couple periods, I was allowed to do a sport. So I wrestled my junior year. I received a scholarship to college to wrestle the next year. And so I studied political science and English. Then I graduated. I worked for the federal government for a year. And then someone mentioned that their friend was in town acting. I never thought of it as a career, so I asked questions. And that person kind of dismissed me, and so that kind of like sparked a flame. And so I bought books, I looked online, I did all these things to find out more about acting, and I started going on auditions. Still not actually wanting to become an actor, but just wanting to find out more about this whole world. And then I was offered a role at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C. And I was offered a role, yeah. And then when I got the call, I kind of freaked out, and I said, "Oh, I'll call you back." And then my uncle called me and told me that my father died, and that was just kind of a sign. So I got up and resigned, and I've been acting ever since.
You know, you said that you were in group homes. You were quite a troubled youth. What brought about that?
It was a very abusive home. Like, first of all, there was a lot of us, and only my mother, and then my father would come and go, and he was just. I think he was a tortured soul, so he tortured us. So, I mean, it was all I knew. So, you know, I wasn't socialized, and what I did learn was just violence. So,
yeah. And then, you know, when you're saying like the call of actually getting the role, and then actually hearing about your father, was that within the same day? Or?
Yeah, within the same hour.
Same hour.
Like maybe 5 minutes later. That's kind of what triggered me to. I didn't think about it. I didn't know why it triggered me, but I was just like, I just got up and quit.
One thing that, like, you know, that was like a very powerful sign, you know. So at that point, was that decision to be like, I'm going fully for acting, or was it just, I'm just gonna try this new career?
I just thought I was gonna try this new thing. I didn't know what it was gonna be or how long I'd do it, but I figured I already have my degree, so I can always fall back on that.
And I think you were saying that about you were offered a position in one of the good universities in acting in New York.
So after I left the federal government, I went and I worked as an actor professionally in Washington, D.C. for a year, and then I was invited by the artistic director at the theater where I did my first play. He was also the director of that play, and head of acting at Juilliard, and invited me to come up and audition at Juilliard. And I wasn't going to at first, and then people who were more knowledgeable suggested I did. And then I decided to audition at some other schools since I was coming up there anyway. So yeah, so then I stopped acting for a couple of years, and I went back for training. Not at Juilliard, but another school.